G line because we've memorized that as a landmark note. Yay! And then I see another note pop up after that, and it is on the line above the G. I'm not reading that note. I'm aware that I'm playing G, and I'm aware that the next note is a third above that, or a jump. I call it a jump because we're just skipping a note, jumping over it. That's how thirds work. It's amazing. So if you see a line to a line or a space to a space, you know what to do. So for fourths, let's head to the bass clef because we got to practice there too. We're going to build some fourths in the bass clef, but first we need to select some landmark notes. So, middle C, obviously. But let's add a couple more. I like to use F because, you guessed it, the bass clef has a nickname, and third of note. I'm aware that I'm playing G, and I'm aware that the next note is a third above that, or a jump. I call it a jump because we're just aware that the next above the G. Yay! And I see another note pop up after that, and it is on the line above the G. I'm not reading that note. I'm, or a jump. I call it a jump because we're just skipping a note, jumping over it. That's how thirds work. It's amazing. So if you see a line to a line or a space to a space, you know what to do. So for fourths, let's head to the bass clef because we got to practice there too. We're going to build some fourths in the bass clef, but first we need to select some landmark notes. So, middle C, obviously. But let's add a couple more. I like to use F because, you guessed it, the bass clef has a nickname, and it is the F clef. And that's because that big circle part before you can go into the half part is on the line that is the note F. So we can just see the second line down from the top and be, that is F. I also like to use low C as a second space up from the bottom of the bass clef. Just quick and easy for me to see that and know what note it is. So there's your landmark notes for the bass clef. A fourth in the bass clef, or treble clef, doesn't matter where you are, a fourth simply is a little bit further apart than a third. And you're going to notice that a fourth always goes from a line to a space, or a space to a line. So let's build a fourth. Let's use low C, which is the C below middle C. And we know that we're not playing a third because this next note isn't on a space. It's on a line, and it's a little stretchier, a little bigger than that third looked. So we have a fourth. I didn't have to read it. I mean, kind of cool because the F actually sits on a landmark note. So I've kind of memorized it, but that's how a fourth sounds and looks. And you can have those anywhere on the bass clef. Anytime you see that shape, read the note that's closest to your landmark note, and then build spatially on the keyboard the fourth below that. Now fifths. Fifths are my favorite because they're actually, I feel like they're pretty easy to read. They're just like an expanded out third, because like thirds, they always move from a line to a line or a space to a space, but they're too far apart to be a third. And so that's how you can quickly and easily identify a fifth. So here are some examples of what fifths will look like on both the treble clef and the bass clef. When you see these, simply pick the note that jumps out at you, that you've memorized as one of your landmark notes, and then create that shape above or below it. So C, middle C in treble clef, and I see this next note here, boom, I've got a fifth. Okay, so now I'm going to see, let's do G in the treble clef, and then the note just past that. It's quite a distance. It's also a line note. It's a fifth. So it'll be a little bit of trial and error, but this is kind of how I go through it. Sixths. That's a hard word to say. And sixths are not terribly difficult to notice either because they're just a little bit farther apart than a fifth. And we're back on our line to space or space to line concept for the sixths. So if you see notes that are kind of far apart and you notice this one's a line one, this one's a space one, chances are it's a sixth. Find the nearest landmark note, use it to help you figure out the first note of your sixth, and you're good to go. Sevenths. Now this is where things can get kind of tricky because this is a big space, and I find that the notes that are close together are really easy to figure out, but when you get to these more sort of spread out distances, it's a little bit more challenging, and that's okay. You have a few ways you can approach this. You can notice that the notes are looking pretty far apart. Let's go from C all the way up to B. So you can see that's a big distance, it's a big gap. So I might notice that I have a landmark note right above that B. So I'll go, okay, well I know middle C, and I'll play that one. And the next note, well there's my landmark C up there, and this one's just one below it. So you kind of work backwards using those landmarks. It's all about combining your skills in a way that works really well for you. An octave, or an eighth, it's really far apart. So you can kind of use that as your guide, you can go, well, those notes are quite a distance away from each other. If you see an octave shown in the treble clef, maybe middle C and then high C, those are both landmark notes. Maybe you see it on E, and then the E above that. So I would use my middle C to help me read this E, and go, okay, C, D, E, and then I would use my landmark note of C up here to go C, D, E. You could also use your acronyms. Honestly, every time I teach a lesson on how to read notes, I'll give an idea, and then the student always has the feedback. They say, like, I used to do it this way, or this I found really helpful. There are so many ways you can approach reading notes, and I think the most important thing, I said it earlier, is just allow yourself to get creative and mix and match different thinking in a way that works for you, so that you're not sitting there going, we're going to sort of sky tour, but you're able to move through this a little bit more quickly and efficiently. So we've talked about intervals and how to quickly identify them and recognize them and understand how to play them. We've talked about landmark notes and how landmark notes can help us to just quickly figure out certain notes without having to read every single one of them. And then finally, look for patterns. A lot of times music will have, oh, we're just moving up in steps, up and down, up and down. Read the first note, follow the pattern as it moves up and down. And then just pay attention, are the notes stepping up and stepping down? Are they moving in thirds and skips? Just negotiate based on ups and downs, intervals, and using those landmark notes. And honestly, a combination of those things, you're going to be sight reading music like a boss in no time. So to put this all into practice, because I can talk and talk and talk and talk till the cows come home. Is that still a saying that we use these days? I don't know.
All you do in your DAW, whatever DAW it is literally just drag and drop.
We can drag one of these chord progressions in. Boom, just like that.
Intervals, lots and lots of intervals, because that's what music is made of. We've got a whole clef note.
Да наоборот, так это он имеет в виду, да, себе же запиши что-нибудь, это он имел в виду, да. Типа это, да. Ты можешь, вот это и был он сам. И что это будет, это, наоборот. Наоборот, да. Наоборот, только, да. Ну ладно. Да нет. Так комментарии-то нельзя там делать еще. Ну наоборот, да, это единственное.
Race for fourths. Let's head to the bass.
Так это единственное самое, да. Вот это единственное. Ну, кстати, да, ладно.
We're going to build some fourths.
Не трать жизнь мою, не трать. Нормально играть, значит нормально. Да. Себе так говорит просто, да. Ну да. Ну он себе так думает просто. Да, это есть он. Ну вот наоборот, значит, да наоборот. Да наоборот. Да. Ну наоборот, значит. наоборот значит.
What's up, my piano friends? Zach Evans here. Today I'm going to show you the perfect morning routine for piano beginners. A 10-minute per day, simple but powerful piano workout plan that'll help you develop effortless, confident, and beautiful playing on the keys, even if you have a crazy busy schedule and not much time to practice. Exercise 1 is a simple but powerful exercise to help you develop your piano technique. Exercise 2 will help you quickly learn chords for actual songs on autopilot. And exercise 3 is a fun drill to help your improv skills, even if you've never improvised in your life. And stick around to the end to get the 5-7 motivation method goal sheet to help keep you white hot motivated to practice every single day, even if you've had trouble sticking to a consistent practice schedule in the past. All right, I'm excited and ready to go. Let's get started. Alright, so the first section of this morning routine is the 5-finger drill technique exercise. It only takes about 2 minutes to complete, but it's a very powerful exercise that turns sloppy, choppy playing into smooth, even tone. And at the same time will solve any weak pinky issues you might think you have. Alright, so the exercise itself is pretty simple. We start with our thumb on C, and then we simply play up to our pinky and back down twice. So it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we simply move our thumb up one note to D and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we move our thumb up to E, do the same thing, and so on and so forth until we hit our thumb on this C. Now, the notes are not the most important part about this exercise. The important part is the form and the wrist motion to use, and let me show you what I mean. Now, if your fingers are nice and curved like this and you start playing the exercise, the first 4 notes are fine. But as you'll notice, if your pinky is curved, you'll miss this last note. It's literally not long enough to reach this last note. So what most beginners do is most beginners straighten their pinky to reach the note. And a straight pinky is a weak pinky, and it's bad technique. And it leads to sloppy, choppy playing and this very uneven sound that you typically hear in a lot of beginners. It sounds something like this. Instead of the smooth. And some people call this weak pinky syndrome. But it's actually very, very easy to fix. All we do is whenever we're playing toward our pinky, we move our wrist down and out as we play. And as you can see, with our wrist over here, down and out, now our pinky can stay nice and curved and strong to play this G, and you don't get that weak pinky sound that a lot of beginners have. And then, as we move back towards our thumb, we rotate our wrists up and in to complete a circle. So as we move our wrists and do the whole exercise, our wrists will be making these circles down and out, up and in. It looks something like this. So instead of thinking about this exercise as playing notes with individual fingers, which sounds sloppy and choppy, instead you want to think of it as if you're playing the notes with your wrists and your fingers are simply transferring the weight from your wrists onto the keys. And it leads to a very smooth, even, and confident sound. And on top of that, this is the only way you're ever going to be able to play at really fast speeds and have a smooth sound. It's It's so crazy to me. I see all these videos on YouTube that give out these little finger exercises, and they only show you the notes and not the technique to play them correctly. And so a lot of beginners, they just memorize these kind of random series of notes, and then they drill in bad technique habits that are really, really annoying and frustrating to correct later on. So be super diligent and make sure you're using proper technique right from the get-go. And of course, once you're done with the right hand, you can do the exact same thing with the left hand. So for the left hand, we're going to start with our pinky on this C, and same thing. So it's just going to go up and down twice. And then repeat the same thing with your pinky on D, and then E, and then F, all the way up until you get to the higher C. Of course, always using proper technique. Now this exercise is simple but very powerful, okay? It only takes like 2 minutes a day, but you'd be amazed on how much more smooth and confident and even students sound even after just a few months of practicing this a couple minutes a day. All right, next up is step 2, where I'm going to show you a powerful exercise to make your chord changes in songs automatic and effortless. But before that, now would be a great time to download the cheat sheet. We're going to be using it for the rest of the video. So click the link, enter your name and email, click submit, and you'll go to this page where you can download the cheat sheet here. And while you're there, you might as well also download the close chords cheat sheet as well as the 5-7 motivation method gold sheet. We're going to be using both of those later on. Alright, so now that our fingers are nice and warmed up, we're going to cover a 4-minute practical exercise to drill chord progressions into your brain. And when I say practical, I mean we're going to use actual chord progressions that you find in real songs. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to a website called ultimate-guitar.com. And up here you can type in one of your favorite songs. So I'm going to use All of Me by John Legend. Find a version that has 5 stars, click on it, and if you scroll down, you'll see all the chords in the entire song. Then simply click Simplify down here to simplify the chords, and then go through the chords and find the repeating chords. Now, for most songs out there, they'll repeat the same 4 or 5 chords over and over. So for this song, as you can see, we have E minor, C, G, D, and then it repeats. E minor, C, G, D, E minor, C, G, D. Next, if you go to the close chords cheat sheet that you downloaded, go and find your 4 chords, E minor, C, G, and D. And if you want, you can even print off the cheat sheet and cut out the chords with the scissors and put them right on your piano. And now you have your chord progression. E minor, C, G, and D. But the great part about the close chords cheat sheet is I designed it to automatically use inversions of the chords that are going to be automatically close together. That way you don't have to jump your hand around on the keyboard, E minor, C, G, D, which is very challenging for beginners, and instead the chords are all going to be right next to each other. So E minor, C, G, D. Now, if you don't know what a chord inversion is, for now, don't worry about it. You can simply just follow the chords on the cheat sheet, and they're going to be correct for you automatically. Okay, so to learn this chord progression, don't just start randomly practicing. Instead, you want to use the added chord strategy learning method to make it nice and easy for you. So here's how it works. First, you're going to take only the first 2 chords of the progression, E minor and C. And you're going to practice just those 2 chords over and over. So E minor, C, E minor, C, and so on and so forth. And once you have those 2 chords kind of down pat, then you're going to add the next chord, the G, onto the end. So it's going to look like this. E minor, C, G, stop. E minor, C, G, stop. And keep practicing that until you have it good. And then, of course, once you have that good, add the final chord, or D, onto the end, so it's going to look like this. E minor, C, G, D, and repeat. E minor, C, G, D. So once you have your right hand good, now we just add the left hand. Left hand is pretty simple. We're just going to play the root note of each chord. So we're going to play E, C, G, D, and repeat. E, C, G, D. When we put it it together with our right hand. Again, we don't want to try to put it all together at the same time. It's going to be way too frustrating as a beginner. We want to use the added chord strategy. So first we're going to start off just E minor to C. And just keep practicing this. E minor, C, E minor, C. Once that's good, we add the third chord, the G. So we have E minor, C, G. And then again, E minor, C, G. Practice that till it's good, and then finally you'll practice E minor, C, G, D, all together. Now this is going to go a couple days to probably get into your fingers, but once you have that good and it starts to feel automatic, you can start adding any rhythms to these chords and it's going to sound good. So you can start playing E minor, C, G, D, and actually play the song. What would I do without your smart love, drawing me in and you kicking me out? Now this is important. You don't have to do all the steps on day one. What I recommend doing is stick to one chord progression, one song a week, right? So maybe this week you start with this song, All of Me, and maybe day one you only work on the right hand. Then day two you add in the left hand. Day three you get hands together. Day four you can start adding the rhythms, and by day five you can play the song effortlessly. And think about it, even if you only learn one song a week, after a year you will be able to play over 50 songs. And it's actually a lot better than that because, as you'll see, there's a lot of songs out there that actually use the exact same chords as other songs. So in reality, you'll probably be able to play hundreds of songs after only a year of practice. And you can actually start playing gigs if you wanted to. It's a very powerful way of learning. All right, so next up we're going to talk about an easy improvisation drill you can start using today, even if you've never done any improv in your life. But first, if you like this style of teaching where I really go in-depth into technique and all the learning strategies like the added chord strategy to make sure that you're really doing everything correctly and stopping bad habits before they start, if you could hit that like button, I would really, really appreciate it. All right, the third and final section to this morning routine, I'm going to show you a simple 4-minute per day improv drill that can drastically improve your improv skills over time. So for your left hand, it's very simple. Put your pinky on C and your thumb on G and simply alternate between these two notes. Like that. Then for your right hand, you can literally play any white notes on the keyboard and it's going to sound good. Let me show you what I mean. Play any white notes on the keyboard, it's always going to sound good. And that's it. Just work this 4 minutes a day. Make up whatever you want. You know, be creative. Put some of your own energy, your own emotion into this. And as you do this week after week, month after month, you'll start to develop your own style. You know, your own kind of go-to riffs that you like to use when you improvise. All right, so next up we're going to talk about the 5-7 motivation method, a system I developed that keeps even the most inconsistent practicer dialed in and motivated. But first, let me know in the comments, which exercise are you most excited to practice? Is it the 5-finger drill? Is it the chord progressions? Or is it the improvisation? Leave a comment and let me know. Next up, I'm going to show you the 5-7 motivation method to keep you white hot motivated and on track. So if you pull up the 5-7 motivation method goal sheet, as you can see, we have our 3 exercises over here on top, and on the left side we have weeks 1 through week 12. So when you sit down at the piano, after you practice each exercise, you put a tally mark in each of the boxes for week 1. Then the second day you practice, you put another tally mark in the box. Now the goal is to get 5 tally marks in each box per week. Once you have 5 tally marks, you can cross off the box and you're good. Now, of course, if you can get 7 tallies, 1 for each day of the week, even better. But the truth is, life is busy, and if you can only get 5, it's no big deal. You're going to be just fine. And as you practice this week after week, month after month, and you start filling in more and more of these boxes, and you start building more and more momentum, it's going to be harder and harder to stop because you're going to feel so motivated and you're going to see how far you've come so far. And once you complete the 12 weeks of this routine, you're going to be amazed at how much more smooth and confident and effortless your piano playing becomes. And please, please, I'm begging you to take the 2 minutes to print this thing off, tape it right up by your piano, and track your progress. It's absolutely crazy to me to see the difference in the long-term consistency between students who use a goal sheet and students who don't use a goal sheet. And imagine how much more confident and smooth and effortless you're going to be on the keys if you simply complete this one goal sheet. Oh, by the way, if you like this very detailed style of teaching, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to get notifications, especially if you're an adult beginner student. That's kind of my specialty. I'd really hate for you to miss out on a future video that could really, really change the trajectory of your piano journey. All right, so here's the link again to the cheat sheet one more time. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace out and happy practicing.
Я хочу пригласить Максима Роговцева, совокупно более 20 миллионов подписчиков.
Друзья, всем привет! 10-я серия, одна локация интереснее другой. Много интересностей спрятано, много тайников и различных загадок. Автору мода спасибо за то, что нам есть что исследовать, а вам спасибо за лайки. Наливайте себе чай и приятного просмотра. Многие задания имеют альтернативные варианты прохождения. От этого зависит не только вознаграждение, но и судьба персонажей. Это мы с вами уже поняли. Так, ну смотрите, обойти 3 раза вокруг дерева и переместиться на локацию Затон. Честно говоря, мне этого не хочется делать. Давайте вернемся на метеостанцию, через этот туннель, и попробуем там перейти на локацию окрестности Затона.
Драконий вижу. Просто бесит это, да? Не знаю, что меня бесит. Ладно. Все проблемы. Ну нет, наоборот. Вот это есть он самый, да-да-да. Наоборот, да.